It all started on an ordinary summer afternoon. The sun blazed high above, casting long, wavering shadows across the asphalt road as the three of us, Sarah, Mark, and myself, decided to embark on an adventure that would forever change our lives. We were inseparable friends since childhood, living in a small town where not much ever happened. On that fateful day, we were desperate for something exciting to occupy our time. As we lounged around Mark's house, our boredom reached a breaking point. Mark, the daredevil of the group, had a gleam in his eye as he proposed a wild idea. "Guys, have you ever heard of the old veterinary clinic just outside town?" he inquired, excitement bubbling in his voice. Sarah and I exchanged puzzled glances. The clinic was known to be abandoned for decades, ever since the mysterious disappearance of Dr. Monroe, the local veterinarian. Locals whispered tales of strange occurrences around the clinic, making it a popular subject for urban legends. But now Mark's curiosity was infectious, and our adventurous spirits prevailed. Without much discussion, we decided to make the journey. I could feel my heart racing, partly from fear and partly from exhilaration. The clinic was nestled at the outskirts of town, obscured by dense woods and tall weeds, adding to its eerie reputation. Armed with flashlights, snacks, and our boundless courage, we headed out on our bicycles, determined to explore the unknown. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows that stretched like dark fingers. We reached the veterinary clinic, its crumbling facade looming in the fading light. It was a massive, decrepit building with cracked windows and shattered glass doors. Nature had taken over, with ivy crawling up the walls and weeds sprouting between the cracks in the pavement. The air was thick with the musty scent of decay. Mark led the way, pushing the broken door open. Our flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing a chaotic scene of abandoned medical equipment, dusty files, and cobwebs. Sarah shivered, her voice barely above a whisper. "This place gives me the creeps." Ignoring her unease, Mark forged ahead, fueled by an insatiable curiosity. We continued to explore, our beams of light dancing across rusted cages and abandoned kennels. It was as though time had frozen in this eerie place. Suddenly, we stumbled upon something that made our blood run cold. Behind a creaking door lay a series of cages, and within them were animals, trapped in miserable conditions. Dogs, cats, even exotic birds, their eyes filled with despair and fear. The sight of their pitiful faces sent shockwaves through our souls. "Guys, we need to do something about this," Sarah said, her voice trembling. The realization of what we had discovered began to sink in. The animals appeared to be victims of unspeakable cruelty, abandoned in this forsaken place. Our hearts ached for them. Mark, who was typically quick to jump into action, seemed conflicted. "We need to call the police," he finally muttered. Sarah and I nodded in agreement, and Mark dialed 911 on his cell phone. The dispatcher took our frantic call, and soon enough, sirens wailed in the distance. The police arrived promptly, their flashlights illuminating the grim scene within the clinic. As the officers carefully inspected the cages, their faces darkened with concern. One of them, Officer Daniels, approached us with a grave expression. "Kids, you did the right thing by calling us," he said. "These animals were being used for illegal animal fights, a cruel and heartless operation. We've been trying to bust this operation for years, and it looks like you've just helped us uncover a major part of it." We couldn't believe our ears. The veterinary clinic, a place known for its association with animal care, had been turned into a nightmarish hub for illegal activities. It was a revelation that sent shivers down our spines. The police immediately began a thorough investigation. They contacted animal welfare organizations and experts to assess the health and well-being of the animals, many of whom were injured and malnourished. The clinic was secured, and news of our discovery spread throughout the town like wildfire. In the days that followed, our small town was abuzz with outrage and shock. The media descended upon our town, and the illegal animal fighting operation became the focal point of intense scrutiny. The police arrested several individuals believed to be involved in the heinous activities at the clinic, including some influential figures in town. The rescued animals were given medical attention and placed in loving homes or animal sanctuaries. The dare hung over me like a heavy shroud, a challenge issued in the dimly lit corners of teenage bravado. It was a chilly autumn night when the mischievous grins of my friends propelled me toward the looming silhouette of the abandoned building. The dare was simple: spend the night within its dilapidated walls, where shadows danced to the tune of unseen phantoms. As I stepped through the creaking door, the eerie silence enveloped me. The cold tendrils of anxiety snaked through my veins, but the dare kept me moving forward. The flashlight's feeble beam illuminated the desolation within. Shattered windows, decaying remnants of forgotten lives, and a pervasive silence that felt almost sentient. The air inside was thick with the musty odor of neglect, and the sound of my own footsteps echoed like a hollow drum. I ascended the grand staircase, each step echoing with a sense of foreboding. The desolation intensified as I entered a room frozen in time, its furnishings shrouded in dusty sheets. I heard their voices before I saw them, muffled conversations emanating from the deeper recesses of the building. The whispers guided me, like a macabre lullaby drawing me closer to the source. As I approached, the dim light revealed two figures engaged in a tense exchange. Their hushed tones and furtive glances spoke volumes. It was unmistakable, a drug deal gone awry. The air crackled with tension as the transaction escalated into a heated confrontation. In an instant, the fragile balance shattered, and chaos ensued. A glint of metal caught my eye as one of the figures produced a knife. Panic seized me as I witnessed the swift descent into violence. The metallic tang of blood filled the air, and the room transformed into a tableau of horror. Without thinking, I fled the scene, the urgency of escape overpowering any inclination to intervene. The hurried footsteps echoed through the corridors as I raced toward the exit. The night, once pregnant with mystery, now throbbed with the raw intensity of a crime witnessed. Outside, I took refuge in the shadows, gasping for breath as the reality of what I had just witnessed sank in. The building, a silent spectator to the illicit drama, loomed behind me. Fear gripped me, and the weight of the unspoken truth pressed heavily on my conscience. Summoning every ounce of courage, I fumbled for my phone and dialed the police. Breathless, I conveyed the grim details of the unfolding tragedy within the abandoned building. The dispatcher assured me that help was on the way, and I strained to catch my breath as I awaited their arrival. Minutes stretched into an eternity as I stood in the desolate night, haunted by the echoes of the violent tableau. The distant wail of sirens pierced the stillness, a harbinger of justice on its way. Relief washed over me, but as the police cars screeched to a halt, an unsettling revelation awaited. The police, armed and cautious, entered the abandoned building. They traversed the corridors, the beams of their flashlights cutting through the darkness like blades. Yet, as they reached the room where the macabre drama had unfolded, an eerie emptiness greeted them. No signs of struggle, no discarded weapons, only an empty room and the residual tension that hung in the air. The officers exchanged skeptical glances, as if my account had woven a tapestry of illusion. I stood there, bewildered, as they scrutinized the abandoned building, searching for traces of a crime that seemed to have evaporated into thin air. Bloodstains on the floor provided the only tangible evidence that something sinister had transpired. The officers, now more perplexed than assured, radioed for additional units and forensic teams. It was a puzzle that defied conventional explanation, an enigma that challenged the boundaries of the rationale. The bloodstains, meticulously analyzed, hinted at a violent altercation, yet the absence of bodies or further evidence perplexed even the most seasoned investigators. Rumors swirled through the community, transforming the building into a haunted space where reality and the supernatural seemed to converge. Some whispered of vanishing specters, while others claimed the building itself held a malevolent consciousness that absorbed the sins committed within its walls. Darkness swallowed the city as I stood before the looming silhouette of the abandoned building. Its windows, like vacant eyes, stared back at me, reflecting only the cold glow of the moon. The air felt heavy with the weight of years gone by, and a shiver ran down my spine as I contemplated entering the forsaken structure. My curiosity had always been a double-edged sword, and tonight, it led me to the threshold of a place that echoed with the whispers of a forgotten past. The locals spoke of it only in hushed tones, claiming the building was haunted by spirits of the bygone era. Legends told of ghostly apparitions that roamed the dilapidated halls, seeking revenge for ancient wrongs. As I pushed open the creaking door, the metallic screech sent a chill through the stillness of the night. My footsteps reverberated through the empty space, a sound that seemed louder than my own heartbeat. The darkness inside was absolute, a suffocating void that clung to my skin. I fumbled for a flashlight, its feeble beam cutting through the shadows like a knife. Dust danced in the light, creating an ethereal ballet that only intensified the eerie atmosphere. The air itself seemed to carry the weight of the past, as if the very walls were exhaling the stories they held. I advanced cautiously, my senses on high alert. Every creak, every distant moan of the decaying structure resonated in my bones. The tales of spirits seemed plausible in the oppressive silence, and my mind played tricks on me with each flickering shadow. It wasn't long before I began to hear the echoes of footsteps, soft and distant. Panic set in, my rational mind fighting against the rising tide of fear. I strained to listen, convinced that spectral entities were closing in on me. Whispers carried through the air, unintelligible words that seemed to seep from the very walls. As I turned a corner, the flickering light of my flashlight caught a glimpse of movement. My heart raced as I stared into the dark eyes of a figure standing just beyond the reach of the feeble beam. I froze, the weight of the unknown pressing down on me. "Who's there?" I stammered, my voice barely audible in the desolate space. Silence lingered for a moment before a low growl reverberated through the darkness. My breath caught in my throat as the figure came into focus. It was not a phantom seeking revenge. Instead, a pair of glowing eyes belonged to a dog, abandoned and left to wander the haunted halls. Relief washed over me, tinged with a newfound sense of responsibility. The dog, with fur matted and eyes filled with mistrust, regarded me with a mix of curiosity and caution. I extended a tentative hand, offering the only solace I could provide in this forsaken place. To my surprise, the dog hesitated before inching forward, accepting my outstretched hand with a tentative sniff. It was as if we were both lost souls, drawn together by the strange magnetism of the abandoned building. The realization that I was not alone in this desolate place brought a strange comfort, a companionship born from the shared solitude of the forsaken. With the canine by my side, the once foreboding halls transformed into a less sinister labyrinth. The echoes of footsteps that had haunted me were now the gentle pitter-patter of paws, a rhythmic beat that echoed through the emptiness. We explored the dilapidated rooms together, uncovering the remnants of forgotten lives. As the dog and I explored every corner of the abandoned building, we eventually made our way back to the entrance. The place that had once seemed so menacing now felt like a different world, one we had uncovered together. Our journey through the forsaken structure had cemented a deep bond between us, one that transcended the boundaries of human and canine. The once wary dog had found not only shelter, but a true companion in me, and I, in turn, had found a loyal friend who never left my side.